Morning. Hey, Liz, and anybody else who happens to be here this morning or who will be watching the video later, you are welcome. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will discuss. I don't have a particular topic for today, so I'm totally open to anything at all that you would like to discuss. Learning process, you should never feel like it's a stupid question. Every single time someone asks a question, there's somebody else saying, "Oh, I never thought of it that way," or "I also had that question, but I was too afraid to ask," this kind of thing. So please don't be shy. Um, Small questions, big questions, whatever you want to ask, I'm here to do my best to answer. All right, so let's begin by just settling in for a moment. This is just to bring the mind into the body, into the present moment. And we want to generate our bodhicitta motivation, thinking about the suffering of others. So in our world, we can easily perceive the suffering of human beings, which is considerable, and that of animals, which is also considerable. But there are other realms with sentient beings that we can't perceive in our current state, and they are also suffering. So, at the very least, if we could think of humans and animals who are suffering in so many ways and generate compassion for them, and then out of that compassion, we develop a wish to attain enlightenment for their benefit, knowing that the cause of suffering is this kind of fundamental ignorance that can really only be relieved through attaining enlightenment. So we try to make that our motivation for the time we're going to spend together this morning, that we can um, determine to do our very best to progress on the path for our benefit too, but also mainly for the benefit of others. Pensando semgarab shiri sempamakarajibani shuna susunduknata dengisaso. Katana manam naso wade. Omin chiki inki podane tusum sange kwinging owene and samchu kunutsun to seba. So enemy shabla so wade. Okay. No questions? Okay. So let's see. Let's talk about the various ways that we can put the teachings into practice in our day-to-day life. So we have practice, the formal practice that we do on the cushion, right? Or the chair if we can't sit on a cushion. So that means, meditation, sadhana practice, various forms of meditation, mantra recitation, visualization, etc. That's like our formal practice. And then there's what's called jetop, which means post meditation. So all the other time of the day when we're not in formal meditation, we're still trying to practice, right? We're trying to be aware. We're trying to have compassion for others. We want to be mindful of our mind, our speech, our body, so that we're not harming others, so that we can also continue to progress and so forth. Or we're looking at maybe some of the bigger ideas, like trying to see the illusory nature of all things. Okay. So if I just think about my day-to-day life, maybe you can come up with some examples of your own for how you might apply the teachings. Okay. So, like right now, okay, I have this dog that I'm fostering that I will talk about at the end, like I always do, until she gets adopted. And she's laying, I'm sitting in my bed, she's laying there, and she has her whole head like on my knee, and she's kind of half asleep, and she's very warm and cozy. And if I don't think about it, whoops, and she just hit the table with her big head. "Yeah, do you know I'm talking about you?" Yes. Um, Ginger, Gigi, look, look. Let's see. No, okay. Um, if I don't think about it, I just can think like, oh, this is my foster dog who's currently getting my nerves a little bit, who's very warm and snuggly and sweet, and you know, we're just hanging out here, right? Um, she might bark, so if that happens, I'll just try to mute it. Um, and that's it, you know. Oh, my dog or my foster dog, and that's it. But if I want to apply the teaching in this situation, I really want to think about how hard it is to be in the animal realm. You know, if I look at her, um, and I just think like she doesn't understand anything. I mean, she understands very little, let's put it that way. Like if I walk out of the room and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to get something, she doesn't know if I'm going to be gone for 30 seconds or for 30 hours, you know? And I can't make her understand, oh, this is just for a minute. So even simple things like that, she doesn't get. Of course, she's not going to be able to understand the Dharma, right? She doesn't have, she and all animals do not have the capacity to understand the Dharma, to progress on the path. You know, their intellectual capacity is really low, right? She can't speak, she can't really understand things, she can't read, she doesn't know what she's looking at when she looks at things. And all animals are more or less that way. Of course, there are some animals that are more intelligent, some animals are that are less so. Gigi, hang on a second. Sorry. I thought this would happen. Hold on. Okay, well, so much for that example. Anyway, I try to put her in the bathroom, which is where I put her when I leave for a few hours. So she really didn't want to go to the bathroom. So she's here again on my lap, and I closed the curtain, so hopefully that'll calm down the barking a little bit. Um, so, you know, when I think about, okay, here's this really quite wonderful creature who's really sweet, and you know, all dogs are like that. Hey, Melina, um, they just want to please you, right? That's it. They want to make you happy. They want to do what you want, unless it's something they really don't want to do, like be locked in the bathroom. So, um, and I I feel so much compassion for her, right? Because I just think, oh, you're just stuck in this form, and you can't really get out of it until you pass away and go into the next life. Now, when we have pets, cats, dogs, birds, whatever, we can really help them by exposing them to the Dharma, even though they don't understand. We can say mantras to them. We can have them sit with us when we do our practice. We can you know, have us like she was there for we received these wonderful transmissions from Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche. She was there for that because she was with me and she didn't understand. Actually, I didn't understand either because everything was in Tibetan, but she didn't know what was happening. Okay. But she got these incredible blessings from being there. So we can help our animals like that and help them, like if we have cats, to not let them outside, no matter how badly they want to go outside, unless we can put them in one of those cat porch things. Otherwise, you know, they're just killing and killing and killing and killing, and it's so bad for them. And then that's one of the horrors of the animal realm, one of the really great difficulties of it. If you are born in a form that kills a lot, like cats, birds, carnivores, and so forth, um, you're just creating more negative karma, even though it's something you can't help. It's instinctual, etc. It's not the same heavy karma that we might have by doing those things on purpose or out of hatred. Nonetheless, there is some karmic residue from that. So it makes it quite difficult then to get out of the animal realm. Okay. So that's one way, I just bring the teachings to mind just by looking at my dog laying in my lap. Okay. Um, uh, um, we can always contemplate impermanence, in so many ways. Like this morning, it was so sunny and beautiful here in Cleveland, and now it's already cloudy and it's apparently going to rain all day, So that's impermanence, It's just that's the way it is. A few days ago it was whatever 20 degrees, yesterday it was 72. It's just crazy. All of this is impermanence. And it's not like, oh, the weather changing is so difficult to understand, or impermanence is this really high concept that like I'll never get. No, these are just little reminders that we can go through throughout the day, that we can not go through, but like notice, right? The more we notice the impermanence of everything, the impermanence of the weather, the impermanence of our living quarters, wherever we live, it's always falling apart. We have to get the roof fixed and we have to get the, plumbing fixed, and our showers falling apart, whatever it is, if we didn't do anything to our homes, or if we're renting, if our landlord doesn't do anything to the apartment building or the house, eventually it just crumbles into dust. That's the nature of impermanence, right? Why do we have to think about that? Well, we don't have to, but why do we want to think about that? It's because that is something that will help us always. That is the contemplation of impermanence is something that will um, benefit us, because that is the way things are. Okay, that is how everything is. It is impermanent, and if we start to see that, we make that effort to kind of notice that all the time in our life, then we won't suffer as much. Okay. So much of our suffering comes from hope and expectation. Yeah. We, we expect things to be permanent. We might not, like, if we think about it, we might realize that that doesn't make sense, but sort of just automatically, like our knee-jerk reaction to things is to think that they're permanent, right? So that when, um, you know, our phone breaks, we're really surprised and, upset about it. Well, if we really like realized impermanence, or if we were very, very familiar with this concept of impermanence, we wouldn't be so upset. Yeah, we wouldn't be, let's say, we wouldn't be so surprised. We might still be upset because it's expensive, it's a pain in the butt, etc. But, we would just think, oh, yeah, of course it broke. It's not like my iPhone is permanent, right? And that extends to deeper things like life and death. You know, um, when, for example, my dad passed away, was very interesting because he had uh, prostate cancer for like 13 years before he passed away. It moved very slowly. And nonetheless, when he actually did pass away, um, of course, my family was upset about it and surprised. And that kind of was something that really struck me, because I'm like, really, you guys? Like, this been going on for 13 years. How is this a surprise? But because I had spent by that point, 15 years in study and practice, I I wasn't discombobulated, let's say, right? Because and it surprised me, frankly, it really surprised me that I wasn't more, I don't want to say upset, because I was upset, it's not like it wasn't painful, it was painful, but it was just this familiarity with the notion that of death and impermanence that allowed me to be more calm and um have a more steady mind, right? And that was so beneficial to not just myself, but to my dad, because I was able to care for him without freaking out. And I was his main caregiver. And to the rest of my family who were running around like chickens with their heads cut off, because I was calm in that situation, I could help them too, right? Not like I'm standing on some podium giving lectures, right? But just by being a calm presence, by having a clear head and saying, oh, we need to make a list of the groceries that we need, or somebody needs to contact hospice or whatever it was, right? Um, and then what happens then if we're always contemplating impermanence is that when it comes our chance to die, our chance. Sorry, Freudian slip. When it becomes our turn to pass away, right? Um, we're more prepared for that. And then we can do the necessary practices that we need to do. We're not struggling against it. We're not, so surprised that we're not going to live forever and so forth. Okay. Um, so what else? So in our daily life, when we are in difficult situations, maybe let's say we have physical pain, okay, um, we can use the Dharma in that situation, right? We can apply the teachings of, again, like impermanence. We can think about the law of cause and effect. We can use that situation to generate compassion for others. One of the simplest practices that we can do that's really powerful is whenever we're experiencing any kind of suffering, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whatever, we can think, may this suffering take away the suffering of others. Okay. It's a very simple thing, but it's also something very profound. So we can, what happens often when we're suffering is we tend to kind of go inward and sort of feel very isolated and maybe purposely isolate ourselves. And that can make us feel like, well, I'm the only one going through this, right? We know intellectually we're not, but there's always this kind of, um, not conflict, but it's a disparity, let's say, between what we kind of know with our brain and sort of how if we pay attention to something we can like easily figure it out, and how we feel sort of instinctively, and those things don't always mesh, right? So when we are suffering, we might feel, oh, it feels like I'm the only one, and it feels so heavy. And then when we say something like, may this suffering or may this pain or may this sickness or whatever take away the suffering, pain, sickness of others, right away that kind of ingrown toenail situation that we feel just opens out, right? Because we're thinking, wow, I'm not the only one. Yeah. There's so many other beings that are going through the same or similar things. I'm not the only one getting a divorce. I'm not the only one grieving. I'm not the only one with chronic pain. I'm not the only one who has depression, right? So we can just think about others. And then also that kind of practice, whether it's just something simple like that, or the practice of Tonglen, which we'll do later, just giving and receiving, um, uh, gives our suffering like meaning, like purpose, right? So that's something else that happens when we suffer is we can feel like um, we add this kind of mental suffering onto it, like, oh, this is just useless. Why am I going through this? And when we do a practice like Tonglen, or use that our pain to generate compassion for others, it gives meaning to it, right? It's something we can do with that beyond simply um, uh, what's the word? Simply enduring it, right? So that's another way we can practice in our day-to-day life. It's literally endless, the amount of things that we can do to practice, when we're um, having a meal. We can, and really like this tradition that a lot of people have of saying some kind of prayer before they eat, because um, I think it's important to realize that, food is not just fuel for our body, but it is something sacred if we make it so, right? And we can take a moment to think about all the people and animals and effort that has gone into this food on our plate, even if it's we just heated up a microwavable meal, still that didn't come from the sky, it didn't come from nothing, right? Somebody had to plant that food, someone had to harvest it, someone had to organize, sell it, truck it, stock the shelves, what have you. Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into that, and we could be grateful for that, you know, grateful that we have this food and to treat the food with respect and to treat others, to think of them with love and gratitude and respect before we just shovel food into our mouth, right? And, on a different level, the teachers will ask us to like visualize in our throat center, the refuge tree, so Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, etc. there. And then the first bite of our food, we can consider that we're offering to them as an offering. And that's a way to generate merit. Or when we take our first drink of whatever we're drinking, same thing. Yeah. So we can make that eating sacred and a practice in and of itself instead of scrolling on our phone and, like I said, just kind of mindlessly shoveling food into our face. Okay. um what else? So many things, so many things. Opportunities to generate compassion, right? I mean, you know in the news, seems every second of every day there's another tragedy. There's local tragedies, there's worldwide tragedies, there's, US dropping a bomb on a school and killing over 100 children, you know. There's the situation in Gaza, there's, people, kids on your street maybe being abused, there's animals being raised for slaughter and suffering from the moment they're born until the moment they're killed, just so we can have 10 minutes of pleasure on our tongue, you know, all so much suffering. So instead of feeling bogged down by this and weighed down by this and upset by this in the sense of emotionally paralyzed by it, we can use it to generate compassion, you know, and really think about their suffering and try to put ourselves in their shoes so that we really understand in the best way possible, in the fullest way possible, um, what they're going through, you know, and then have compassion for them. And then let that compassion be mixed with the wisdom that understands the cause of suffering, with this, which is this kind of fundamental ignorance we have of how everything works, how the world works, how um, the law of cause and effect works. Yeah. And understanding all of that, then we can develop then bodhicitta, which we discussed at the beginning, right? That it's not just a wish, it's like the wish mixed with determination to attain enlightenment for the benefit of others. It's called, of course, it benefits us too. It's called the twofold goal, right? That's self and others. But if we don't have bodhicitta, there's no way we're going to get enlightened. We have to have bodhicitta in order to get enlightened. Yeah. So we have this wish on one hand of just, I really wish I could get enlightened so that I could benefit so many beings. Because we can benefit others now, there's no question. Of course we can. We can benefit hundreds of beings now, right? As we are in various ways. But the number of beings that we can benefit once we attain enlightenment is inconceivable. It's so so many, countless, literally countless sentient beings that we can benefit once we attain enlightenment. Yeah. And we can benefit them not only in ways that we might be able to benefit others now by feeding them, clothing them, um, you know, comforting them, etc., serving them in some way, but most importantly, guiding them to also attain enlightenment. And once we attain enlightenment, that is, as True Rinpoche says, freedom from suffering once and forever, once and for all. Once we attain enlightenment, there is no more suffering. Yeah, that's huge, right? So when we're starting with compassion, contemplating the suffering of beings, yeah, merging that with the wisdom that understands the cause of suffering, and then that becomes bodhicitta, the wish and determination to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. Okay. All right. So we'll stop here. And does anyone have questions before we go into the meditation? I'll give you a minute while I drink a glass of water. Okay. I guess nobody has questions. All right. So let's start with mindfulness of breathing practice, which is the foundational practice for any of the type of meditation that we do. So for this, we just want to sit in a way that is comfortable. If you're sitting on your bed or a chair, I'm sorry, if you're sitting on your bed or a cushion on the floor, let's say, just cross your legs in whatever way is comfortable for you. If you're sitting in a chair, you just want your feet to be flat on the floor in front of you because that will support the rest of the posture. Otherwise, all the instructions are the same. So you can have your hands either palms down on your knees or your legs, palms up like that in your lap, or with your fingers touching in your thumbs like that, like you're holding a goose egg, whichever is most comfortable for you. Okay. Back is straight, but not tense. Okay. Just straight, but relaxed. Back of the neck is also straight, so the chin's going to be tucked in a little bit. Arms are relaxed, so you're not holding them in, you're not holding them out, just relax. Shoulders should be back a little bit, so you might just roll them back. Mouth is closed but relaxed, tongue resting on the roof of the mouth. Breathing through the nose. Eyes are half open, looking down in front of you with a relaxed, lowered gaze. That's the posture. Now, if we are feeling very speedy, we notice we sit and we're like, whoa, I'm just spinning all over the place. I would just close your eyes for a little bit and put your hands in this posture, hands down, palms down on your knees. If you can, make the room a little darker, close your eyes, make your body warmer or the room warmer. All of these things will help to kind of calm down the energy. And once you feel a little more stable, then open your eyes again. If, on the other hand, you're feeling really dull, really tired, and kind of, just sleepy, then you want to do the opposite of all those things I just said. So you want to look up or look into a light, look in the sky, um, take things off so your body is cooler or make the room cooler, make the room lighter if you can. Okay. And then you want to take this mudra because it's more tight, right? It's more kind of brings you together a little more. Okay. And you take that posture and do those things, then you'll find that you kind of get out of that dull state. Okay. So nobody can tell you where you're at, whether you're feeling dull or whether you're feeling speedy. That's something you just have to determine for yourself and then make the necessary adjustments. Okay. But we'll start out with that posture that I just described of whichever hand meditation mudra you want. and then everything else I just described. Okay, so now we have the posture. Now we want to bring our attention to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. So we're going to kind of focus at the end of the nostrils there. But take a moment just to notice that, please. Okay, that's going to be the focus of our concentration or our awareness. All right. So, what are we doing with this crazy mind of ours? All right. What we're doing is we're just letting the thoughts come and go without running after them. Okay. So, what I mean by that is, let's say that we're sitting, focusing on the breath, and a thought arises, oh, it's probably gonna rain this afternoon. What we want to do is just let that go. Just don't do anything. That thought will be replaced by another thought, related or unrelated. Maybe the next thought is, maybe it'll also rain tomorrow. Maybe the next thought is, I like lemon cookies. Maybe the next thought is, I hate my neighbor, whatever. Doesn't matter, right? We just let the thought arise, dwell, and disappear on its own. We don't have to stick our fingers in there, right? Arise, dwell, and disappear, rise, dwell, and disappear, on and on like that. Probably what's going to happen is we are going to get distracted, meaning we're going to start running after one of these thoughts. Okay. And so that might look like this. Oh, we're sitting, and then a thought arises, oh, it's probably going to rain this afternoon. And then we're off and running. Oh, it's probably going to rain this afternoon. I was hoping to plant my garden. Now I'm not going to be able to plant my garden. I can't stand the weather in Cleveland. I used to live in Arizona. I wished I lived in Arizona again. I remember the boyfriend I had in Arizona. He reminded me, right? And right? We're off and running. That's going to happen. It's totally normal. That's why this is practice, right? So, what we want to do when that happens is there will come a moment where we realize we got distracted and we're like, oh, I'm supposed to be meditating. When that happens, all you have to do is just drop it and bring your mind back to the breath. That's it. Just bring your mind back to the breath. Okay. And you might be aware for a few moments and then you might get lost again. Then you bring your mind back. This is what this practice is about. Noticing what the mind is like when it is aware, noticing what it's like when it is distracted, and bringing the mind back from distraction to awareness. Okay. So none of that experience is something that is not meditation. That is all meditation. Okay. All right. So let's begin now. Take the posture, whichever you choose. Okay. Bring awareness to the sensation of the breath coming in and out of the nose. Letting the thoughts come and go as they will, while maintaining awareness of the breath, bringing the mind back if you do get distracted. So please begin that now. Now you can begin to count the breaths, counting either every in-breath or every out-breath for a total of 10 complete breaths. This is a tool that helps us to realize more quickly if we've gotten distracted because we'll have lost count. So if you find, let's say you get up to 5 and then your mind just runs away and you lose count, just, okay, all right, yes, I'm supposed to be meditating. Start again at 1. If you get to 10 without losing count, don't let that fact distract you. Start again at 1. Okay? So please begin that now. Bring your mind back to the breath. Okay, now we're going to move to the Tonglen practice. Tonglen means giving and receiving. So this is a practice specifically for um, developing our innate compassion. So what we are giving is our own happiness, and what we are receiving is the suffering of others. So it works against our typical ego desire to put ourselves first and to think of ourselves as most important, etc. Okay. So I'm just gonna guide you through the practice. But before I do, I will say, as part of this practice, we choose a type of individual to work with, and typically there's four different types. There's person that we love a lot, which we'll be doing today. There's someone who's neutral to us. So that is means like someone we recognize their face, but we don't, we may or may not know their name. We don't feel any particular way towards them. So we don't particularly like nor dislike them. It's a really important category actually because the vast majority of people we come in contact with fit that description, right? Other people on the road, other people in the shop, other people at work, like that. Okay. The third category is someone we dislike. So it's typically someone who has hurt us in the past. And this can be quite challenging, but also a really helpful practice for those difficult relationships that we can't seem to fix. And then the fourth category of person is oneself, which is really important to generate compassion for oneself. Right. Um, so anyway, today we're going to work with someone that we love. All right, so let's begin. All right, so you take the posture again, but in this meditation, it's not important if you keep your eyes open. So if you prefer to close your eyes, that's fine. Please feel free to do so. Okay, so first you just want to, again, just start with focusing on the breath. Then we just want to rest the mind in its natural state. So what that means is we're not trying to concentrate on anything at the same time. We're not distracted. So just let the mind settle. Like if you have a muddy glass of muddy water and you keep stirring, 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 it's always going to be muddy, right? So if you just let it be, that mud will sink to the bottom and the water will be clear. So that's what we want to do now. So please just take a moment to rest the mind. Okay. So the first stage is just to want to visualize in our heart center, so that's the middle of our chest, a very bright white light like a shining star. Then consider that you're breathing in gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy, through all the pores of your body. And all of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now we're going to breathe out this white light through all the pores of our body. The light is cool and clear, very bright, light in weight. So imagine every pore of your body emanating a ray of white light in every direction. So now picture in front of you someone that you love a great deal. Now, this person can be alive, of course, or can have already passed. And just picture them in front of you, facing you. And then go into your heart and really feel the love you have for each other. Feel the love you have for this person, how kind they are, how they've helped you throughout the years, how happy they are to see you, how they support you, listen to you, understand you, and whatever other kind of qualities you can think of. And feel the love they have for you, too, how they appreciate you, how they see you, how they appreciate the love you have for them. Then bring to mind whatever way this person is suffering or suffered when they were alive. Physically, maybe they're ill, or but they have some other kind of physical difficulty like chronic pain. Mentally, emotionally, perhaps they suffer from depression or addiction or anxiety. Maybe they're going through a divorce or they're grieving, whatever it is, whatever type of suffering they're experiencing. And don't just think about it, but try to really feel it. What does it feel like for them to be in the middle of this difficult divorce or to worry about how they're going to pay their bills, whatever it is? Try to really feel it from their point of view. Yeah. And then, because we love this person so much, this natural desire for them to be free of suffering arises in us. Let me make that wish. May they be free of suffering. And then we imagine that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves them and it comes to you. And with love and courage and appreciation, you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And then that smoke begins to dissolve into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then you offer them your own happiness, your own good fortune, anything at all that they may need to feel better, to be free of suffering. And add to that the wish that they attain full and complete enlightenment in this very lifetime. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool, clear, very bright, light in weight. And you breathe out this white light through all the pores of your body. When the rays of light touch this person that you love so deeply, all their suffering just lifts off of them and disappears. They feel so relieved, happy, and peaceful, and you feel joyful for being able to do this for them. Now we're going to extend that circle of care to all sentient beings. First, imagining them all around us, as many beings as we can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon in front of us. Use your CGI capabilities. Then, same thing to the right, as many beings as we can imagine, all the way to the horizon. And behind, as many beings as we can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon. And to the left, all the way to the horizon. So now we're in the middle of the sea of sentient beings, and we want to connect with them. We want to consider the ways in which we are alike. And one of the main ways is that each one of us wants to be happy. Each one of us wants to avoid suffering. And unfortunately, each one of us suffers nonetheless. And we want to think about all these different beings who go into just supporting our day-to-day life, who grow and ship and sell the food that we eat, who make our clothing, who build our homes, who keep the roads, prepared, etc., etc. We're really connected in so many more ways than we might imagine. And we think of all these beings, and we think of whatever ways they may be suffering, physically, mentally, emotionally. And we generate compassion for them, the wish that they be happy and free of suffering. And then we imagine that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy, and with a great deal of love and compassion and courage, we breathe that in through all the pores of our body. And that smoke begins to dissolve into the white light in our heart center. It continues to do so until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. And then we offer each one of these beings our own happiness and good fortune, giving it away, along with anything at all that they may need to feel better, and adding to that the wish that they attain full enlightenment in this very lifetime. All of that taking the form of very, very bright white light, cool in temperature, clear, light in weight. And we breathe that out through all the pores of our body. Every single pore emanating a ray of white light that goes to the horizon in every direction and touches every single sentient being. And when these rays of light touch them, their suffering just disappears and lifts off of them and dissolves like fog in the morning sun. They feel so happy, relieved, at ease, and you feel really joyful to be able to do this for them. Now we let go of the visualization altogether, gently bringing the mind back to the breath, using the breath to bring and keep the mind in the present moment, here and now. Okay, so now we're going to do the closing prayers, and after that I have some announcements, so please stay. I'm going to share my screen with you, but you can download them from our website. The link is below in the description box. Okay, so we're just going to say these in Tibetan one time, and we'll go on to the next page. Kanri wa we ko we shinkan su pendante wa malu juene chene si won den singam su yi shape ga ba chu ten shi. Om Swasti Chikme Kempe Kalong Yamparu Kungap Sechen Suse Bumdawa Nidu Dun Sanam Ge no Bucho Seche Yawe Shakinta Su So Om Swasti Sela Gem Surgeon Lapten June Nunsin Dakse Kyuchu Pema Wang Sangsum Nadre Gyapo Tatene Lam chen ten de she ten tai ge shu. Lama gungan sampo suwa dep. Chotu gu se mi wa suwa dep. Trine ta shinge pa suwa dep. Lama dandre wa me pa chingi lo. So then this prayer we're going to say once English, once in Tibetan, the remaining three just in English, and then we'll say this mantra. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing. From the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. Sonandi tanche sipani, tone nebe tonon panche shing. Egana chi balon tu pai, si be sole doa doa sho. May bodhicitta, precious and sublime, arise where it has not yet come to be, and where it has arisen, may it never fail, but grow and flourish ever more and more. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may it too remain and dispel the miseries of the world. Ever absorbed in the display of divine forms and primordial awareness, appearance, sound, and perception in the state of divinities, mantras, and dharmakaya. May I, inseparable from the practice of the profound and secret great yoga, attain within the essence of mind the state of one taste. Om Vajra Sattva Samaya Manuvalaya Vajra Sattva Tenupa Tishta Drito Me Bhava Sudokayo Me Bhava Subokayo Me Bhava Anurato me bawa sawasiri me brayata sawakama sutta me chitam shriyam kuruhu ha 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 ho bhagavat sawatata kata vajrama me mutsa vajre bhava maha samaya sattva. All right, so I have a few announcements for you. First of all, we have meditation every Saturday from 10:30 to 11:30 on YouTube. And the second Saturday of the month, we are also in uh, person at the Lakewood Library on Detroit. That would be this coming Saturday, the 14th. So if you can join us in person, we'd love to have you. We're in the basement of the library, so please join us there. Um, we have we practice the Buddha sadhana together 3 times a month according to the lunar calendar. The next one isn't until the 18th, which is a Wednesday, March 18th. We do that at 6 o'clock p.m., just 6 to 6:30. It's so pretty, I hope you can come. Um, we have classes. We're on our last session of walking the spiritual path, and we'll be starting, once that's over, we'll be starting a class called Women of Wisdom. There's nothing on the site yet about that, but that's what's next. Please sign up for the newsletter. Again, link below. So you know what's happening. It's really the quickest way to know. We do that off sometimes before we update the site, so it is the best way to know. If you are able to make donations, we so appreciate it. Of course, we understand if people are financially strapped, but even $5, $10, is really helpful to us. There are a lot of expenses that might not be obvious, but believe me, they're there. Um, Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. I know that right now, because we're still live, you can't comment, but as soon as we're off, you'll be able to comment, but at least like and subscribe. And the reason I'm asking that is because we really want the most people possible to have access to the Dharma. So you doing that is you doing your part to, make that happen. Um, you can also share, and so forth. Uh, we do have events. There's possibly a special event coming up in May. So again, stay tuned with the newsletter for that visit. And we do retreats and so forth. We're going to have spring break at some point, so keep your eyes open for that. And finally, I would like to talk to you about this. foster dog that I'm fostering, this dog that I'm fostering, her name is Ginger. I call her Gigi. I'm just going to share some photos with you. She's very, very sweet. She's had kind of, difficult life, but she's super affectionate and, she's learning. I just have you go through these photos. So this is what she looks like. She's interested in her own reflection often. But look at her. I mean, she's just a cutie pie. And she'll help you practice, because you can't get up if you're doing your meditation and she's laying right on top of you like that. So, um, um, yeah. So, she sometimes has difficulty facing the morning, as you see her burying her head in my armpit there. Um, Oh, I think that's the last picture. Yeah. So, she's really cute. She's really funny. And if you want to adopt her, please, please do. Um, you would adopt her through the Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter. Um, I have her for now just trying to fix this dermatitis that she has. But once that's done, then she will be back at the shelter and you'll be able to have a look at her and adopt her. If you can't or don't want to adopt her, maybe you know somebody who does, ask around and see. She's already has so many blessings too, so you get a pre-blessed dog, imagine. So please think about that. All right, finally, thank you so, so much for joining this morning or for watching later. We really appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, bye, everybody.